The heat shimmered off the cracked asphalt, twisting the air into mirages that danced above the desert road. It was late August in Nogales, Arizona, and the border sun felt like punishment. The kind of dry, blinding heat that made the world go still. Ava Monroe had been driving for 9 hours straight. Her beat-up blue Chevy loaded with everything she owned, 2 suitcases, a first aid kit, and a secret she'd sworn never to speak aloud. She was 28, a trauma nurse who'd seen too much and who'd finally run too far. The radio crackled with static. She reached to turn it off just as the sound of gunfire split the afternoon dot at first. It came faint and distant like firecrackers. Then closer. Louder. Bullets pinged off metal somewhere ahead. Ava slammed on the brakes. The tires screamed, dust rising around her like smoke. She ducked low behind the steering wheel, heart pounding. The sound came from just over the hill, a staccato rhythm. Too deliberate to be random. She should have turned around. Every instinct screamed drive away. But instead, she reached for the small black medical bag on the passenger seat. Old habits die hard. She opened the door cautiously, the desert heat swallowing her whole. The smell of gunpowder and burning rubber hung in the air. Up ahead, an **SUV. Lay overturned *** in the ditch, black smoke curling from its hood. A second car, a white pickup riddled with bullet holes, was stopped sideways across the road. The world was quiet now, except for the faint hiss of leaking fuel. Ava moved fast. Training kicked in. Check for survivors. Secure the scene. Don't think. Just move. She knelt beside the overturned SUV, coughing through the smoke. Inside, 2 men were dead, tattoos, gold chains, guns still clutched in their hands. She turned toward the pickup just as a low groan came from the passenger side. A man was slumped against the door, blood soaking his shirt, his face pale beneath a smear of dirt. He was breathing, but barely. Ava pulled the door open and caught him before he fell. His body was heavy, burning with fever and blood loss. "Stay with me," she said, voice steady but shaking inside. "You're going to be okay." His eyes flickered open, hazel green piercing through the haze. His voice was rough, low. "You shouldn't be here." "I'm a nurse," she said. "You're lucky I am." He gave a faint, painful smirk. "No such thing as luck, me Angel." The words sent a chill down her spine. She tore open his shirt, exposing a deep gunshot wound in his shoulder. Clean entry, no exit. She worked quickly, pressure, gauze, bandage from her kit. Her hands were steady, her breath even. She didn't notice the silver pendant around his neck until her fingers brushed it. Small medallion etched with a serpent coiled around a sword. Her heart sank. She knew that symbol. Everyone in southern Arizona did. It belonged to the Vega Cartel. She froze, realizing too late who she was saving. The man's gaze caught hers, reading the recognition in her face. "It's okay," he murmured. "You're not one of them. Should I be?" she asked, voice dry. He smiled faintly despite the pain. "If you were, you wouldn't be helping me." She almost pulled away then, almost let him bleed out like he probably deserved, but something in his expression stopped her. There was no arrogance there. No threat. Just exhaustion and a kind of quiet sorrow. "What's your name?" she asked, tightening the bandage. He hesitated. "Gabriel," she arched a brow. "That your real name?" He gave a small, wry smile. "It's the one I'm using today." A rumble in the distance interrupted them, the low, rolling growl of engines. Ava looked up. 2 black SUVs cresting the ridge. Gabriel's expression hardened instantly. "Get down." She didn't move fast enough. His hand shot out, grabbing her and pulling her into the ditch just as bullets tore through the air above them. The sound was deafening, metal splitting, glass shattering. She covered her head as dirt exploded around them. "Who are they?" she shouted. He grit his teeth, reaching for his gun. "People who think I'm worth killing." "You said you were shot." "I was." He fired twice over the ridge. "And apparently I wasn't shot enough." Ava pressed her back against the dirt, adrenaline roaring through her veins. She had never been this close to death and never this aware of it. When the shooting stopped, Gabriel grabbed her wrist. "My men will come. You need to go. Now." "I'm not leaving you here to die." He looked at her, really looked at her, as if she'd said something foreign. "Nobody ever says that to me." Before she could respond, he pushed her back. "There's a bike behind the hill. Take it. Ride north." Don't stop. You'll find a gas station in 20 miles. Leave me. But Ava didn't move. Go, he said again, his tone darkening. You don't understand what you're in the middle of. She glared at him. Then explain it. A new engine sound answered instead, a deep, throaty growl that made Gabriel's eyes narrow. They're not mine, he whispered. Ava turned. Two men in tactical black stepped out of the SUV at the ridge, rifles raised. They weren't Cartel. Their gear was clean, professional. Government, maybe. Gabriel cursed under his breath. Federal task force. They'll kill anyone here. He grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the wrecked SUV. You want to live? Stay behind me. You can barely stand. He turned, blood soaking his side, but his voice was steady. Doesn't mean I can't shoot. The agents shouted for them to freeze. Gabriel lifted his gun instead. Ava's heart leapt to her throat. Don't! He fired. One shot, then chaos again. The air filled with dust and echoing thunder. Ava dropped low, grabbing the fallen rifle of one of the men. She'd never fired one before, but desperation had a way of teaching fast. They made it to the Chevy, both breathing hard. Gabriel collapsed into the passenger seat. Drive, he said. She slammed her foot on the gas, the tires screaming as the car fishtailed onto the highway. Bullets shattered the back window. Ava didn't flinch. Who are you really? She shouted over the roar of the engine. Gabriel leaned his head back, his voice barely audible. The man your government calls a ghost. She glanced at him, confused. He met her eyes, his smile faint, almost gentle. And the one your enemies pray to. The highway opened before them, the desert stretching endless and cruel. Behind them, black smoke and flashing lights grew smaller, swallowed by distance. Ava's hands trembled on the wheel. You just got me killed, didn't you? Gabriel's eyes closed, his voice a whisper. Not yet. For miles there was only silence, the hum of the tires, the thud of her heartbeat, and the sharp, metallic scent of blood filling the car. Finally, she spoke. You said your name was Gabriel. What's your last name? He opened his eyes again, the faintest trace of a smirk on his lips. Vega. The name hit her like a punch to the chest. Marco Vega's son, she whispered. Not anymore, he said. Lightning flashed in the distance. The storm rolling in from Mexico, heavy and dark. Then who are you now? She asked. He turned to her, gaze sharp as glass. The man who just saved your life, he said quietly, and the man you're going to regret owing. Outside, thunder rolled across the desert. And somewhere behind them, unseen, another car began to follow. The storm rolled in by nightfall. Heavy clouds smothered the Arizona sky, and rain came down like sheets of metal, harsh, relentless, and uninvited. Ava gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, as lightning illuminated the desolate highway. Gabriel sat slouched in the passenger seat, his blood-soaked shirt clinging to his chest. Every so often he winced, but said nothing. His silence was the kind that filled the space between heartbeats. You're going to bleed out, she said finally. Voice tense. I've had worse, he murmured. You're not immortal. Neither are you. She glanced at him, the flash of lightning painting his face in pale blue light. There was something haunting about him, his calm, the strange steadiness of a man too used to danger to fear it anymore. When she reached a flickering neon sign reading Mesa INN vacancy, she pulled off the road without waiting for his permission. I need light, hot water, and something that doesn't smell like gasoline, she said flatly. Gabriel cracked a faint smile. You sound like my kind of doctor. Nurse, she corrected, parking the car. Big difference. He looked at her, eyes narrowing slightly. Not tonight. Inside, the motel was as tired as the town itself. Peeling wallpaper, buzzing lights, a clerk who didn't even glance up when Ava handed over cash. Room 12 smelled of dust and old cigarettes, but it had a bed and running water. That was all she needed. She locked the door behind them and flicked on the light. Gabriel dropped his jacket and sat on the edge of the bed, grimacing as he pulled off his shirt. Ava froze. His torso was a roadmap of scars, old knife wounds, burns, and bullet marks, each one a story she didn't want to know. What kind of life gives you that many exit wounds? She muttered. The kind that never lets you leave, he said. She swallowed hard and set to work, cleaning the wound with trembling hands. The bullet had missed anything vital, but the bleeding hadn't stopped. He watched her in silence, his gaze uncomfortably intense. Stop staring, she said. I'm just wondering. he said quietly. Why you didn't run? She pressed the gauze harder than necessary. Because someone had to stop the bleeding. Not what I meant. She looked up, meeting his eyes. You mean why I didn't leave you to die? He nodded. Ava hesitated. Because I've spent my whole life watching people die. And I'm tired of it. Something flickered across his expression, respect, maybe. Or sorrow. When she finished stitching the wound, she stepped back, washing her hands in the small bathroom sink. The mirror was cracked, reflecting her face in fractured pieces. Who were those men on the highway? She asked. Federals, he said. Or they used to be. Used to be? Cartel bought them a long time ago. They were after me for information. What kind of information? He leaned back, closing his eyes. The kind that gets people like you killed for knowing. She sighed. I just saved your life. I think I'm past the point of no return. His eyes opened, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. Maybe, but that doesn't mean I want to see you die because of me. Funny, she said. I was thinking the same thing about you. For a moment, the air between them softened. Rain battered the windows like restless fingers. Then his phone buzzed. He reached for it instantly, but Ava was faster. She snatched it from the knitstand before he could move. Give it back, he said, his voice dangerously calm. She stepped back. Who's calling? He stood, blood seeping through the fresh bandage. You don't want to answer that. Her thumb hovered over the screen. One word glowed across it. Padre. Your father, she whispered. He froze. Ava looked up, realization dawning. Marco Vega. Gabriel's silence was answer enough. The call stopped, then buzzed again seconds later. You're still in contact with him? She asked, disbelief cutting through her voice. I told you, he said. I'm not part of his world anymore. Then why is he calling? He took a slow breath. Because the dead don't stay buried in my family. She stared at him, the rain growing louder outside. So you're saying he's alive and wants you back? Gabriel laughed quietly, but there was no humor in it. He doesn't want me back, Ava. He wants me erased. The phone buzzed again. This time it was a message. Ava's eyes flicked down, reading the words before he could stop her. You took what's mine. Bring her to me and I'll let you live. Her stomach dropped. She looked at him, her pulse hammering. He's talking about me. Gabriel met her gaze, unflinching. Yes, why? Because, he said slowly, he thinks you saw something you shouldn't have. Her voice shook. Saw what? He didn't answer. She stepped closer, anger burning through her fear. What did I see, Gabriel? His jaw tightened. You saw me alive. The weight of those words sank in like ice. You're supposed to be dead, she whispered. He nodded once. My father made sure the world thought so. 3 months ago, I faked my death in one of his shipments gone wrong. The only person who knew the truth was him. Until today. Ava stared at him, her pulse thudding. Then saving me on that road was a mistake, he said quietly. You weren't supposed to be there. The air felt colder now. The storm rattled the windows. So what happens to me now? She asked. Gabriel's voice was steady, but there was regret in it. Now, my father thinks you're leverage. And what do you think I am? He looked at her for a long moment, the faintest sadness in his eyes. Collateral damage. Ava stepped back as if struck. You used me. I saved you, he said sharply, for him. His silence was the only answer she needed. She turned away, hands trembling. You dragged me into this so he'd come for me, not you. It wasn't supposed to go like this. She spun on him, tears burning behind her eyes. Then how was it supposed to go, Gabriel? You hand me over. Trade my life for yours? His jaw flexed, guilt flashing across his face. The truth hit her like a blade. That's exactly what you planned. The lights flickered as thunder rolled overhead. He reached for her, voice soft, desperate. Ava, don't, she said. Don't touch me. The silence stretched, broken only by rain. Finally, he whispered, I don't do mercy for free. You were never supposed to be part of this. But now you are. And I can't protect you from what's coming. She lifted her chin, fire cutting through the fear. Then I'll protect myself. She grabbed her bag, shoving past him toward the door. But as she reached for the handle, his phone buzzed again. This time, the message was longer and it froze them both in place. She isn't the only one you owe me for, Gabriel. Bring her to me and I'll give you your brother back. Gabriel went pale. Ava turned to him slowly. Your brother? He swallowed hard, his voice breaking for the first time. No one's supposed to know about him. Who is he? He met her eyes, and she saw real fear there for the first time. My brother's name is Evan, and if my father has him... He stopped, his voice dropping to a whisper. Then I'm already too late. Outside, lightning split the sky. Somewhere in the distance, an engine started. And both of them knew the Vega family had just found them again. The storm had broken by morning, leaving the world drenched and still. Puddles reflected a gray sky as Ava and Gabriel drove north along a winding highway that cut through the mountains like a scar. The air was cold, the kind of cold that bit into your lungs and carried the smell of rain and iron. Neither of them had spoken in an hour. Ava sat stiffly, her arms crossed, eyes on the road. Gabriel's shirt was soaked in blood again, though he didn't seem to care. The silence between them had grown heavy, brittle, a quiet loaded with things that couldn't be unsaid. Finally, she broke it. You should have told me about your brother. Gabriel didn't look at her. Would it have changed anything? Yes, she snapped. It would have made you human. He gave a humorless laugh. You think I'm not? I think you stopped trying to be. His grip on the steering wheel tightened. You don't know what my father does to people he calls family. Then tell me. He glanced at her, the faintest trace of exhaustion in his eyes. Evan was never supposed to be part of that world. He was the good one, the one who stayed clean. My father saw him as a liability, a weakness I couldn't afford. So he took him. 6 months ago. Disappeared him. Said if I ever betrayed him again, I'd get his body back piece by piece. Ava's stomach twisted. And now he's alive? Gabriel nodded once. If that message was real. And you're willing to trade me for him? He didn't answer. Ava turned to the window, biting back the sting in her throat. The desert stretched endlessly beyond the glass, the horizon bruised by distant mountains. You don't have to pretend anymore, she said quietly. I already know what I am to you. You're not listening, Gabriel said. His voice softened, almost pained. I'm trying to find another way. By dragging me across the state like bait? He exhaled slowly. By keeping you alive long enough to fix this. Fix this? She said bitterly. You can't fix being your father's son. That silenced him. When they reached a rest stop on the edge of Flagstaff, Ava got out without a word. The air was thin here, sharp with pine and diesel fumes. She walked to the edge of the lot, leaning against a cracked vending machine, breathing hard. For a moment she could almost forget the gunfire, the blood, the cartel. The man in the car watching her with eyes that felt too much like fate. When she turned, Gabriel was standing by the hood, phone in hand, face tight. We have to move, he said. Why? They traced the motel. There's a hit team moving north. Then we stop running, she said. He looked at her, startled. You want to fight them? She stepped closer, voice steady. I want this to end. You said your father wants me because I saw something. Fine, let's find out what it was. He hesitated. That's not how this works. Maybe it should be. For the first time, he didn't argue. He tossed her his jacket and motioned toward the truck. Get in. There's a place we can go. Where? A cabin in Coconino National Forest. Off-grid. My brother and I used it before. He trailed off. She climbed in without another word. By nightfall, they reached the cabin, a small, weather-beaten structure hidden among tall pines, the air heavy with the scent of wet earth and sap. The isolation was both comforting and terrifying. Gabriel lit a fire. The flames painted his face in gold and shadow. Ava sat near the window, knees drawn up to her chest. So this is where you hide, he smiled faintly. Used to. Evan liked the quiet. There was something different in his tone when he said his brother's name, a tenderness that didn't belong in the voice of a killer. She studied him for a long moment. You said he was the good one. What about you? Gabriel stared into the fire. I was the one who made deals. What kind of deals? The kind you can't ever walk away from. Ava's eyes narrowed. You mean the kind where you sell people to save yourself? He flinched barely, but enough. That's what this is about, isn't it? She said softly. You already made that deal once. With someone else. He looked up at her then, something raw breaking through the calm. I made it with my father. The words hung in the air like smoke. When I was 17, he sent a man to kill my mother, Gabriel said quietly. Said she was a liability too soft. I begged him to stop. He told me I could trade her life for someone else's. Eva's breath caught. Who? Myself. Her chest tightened. I took her place in the cartel, he continued. I did everything he wanted, killed who he told me to, ran his shipments, earned his trust. And when he didn't need me anymore, he killed her anyway. The fire popped. The smell of burning wood filled the silence. Ava whispered, That's why you left. He nodded slowly. I thought if I disappeared, if I let the world believe I was dead, he'd let Evan go. I was wrong. Something inside her shifted, sympathy and fury twisting together. So that's why you saved me. You saw me as a way out. Gabriel met her eyes. I saw someone who still had a choice. She shook her head. You keep saying that like it matters. You think I haven't made deals too? He frowned. What are you talking about? Ava hesitated. Then quietly she said, 2 years ago I treated a man in Tucson a courier. He was shot, bleeding out, same as you. I called it in to the police. The next day, 3 people from my hospital disappeared. And a week later, the D offered me a deal, cooperate with them to expose the Vega network, or be charged as an accomplice. Gabriel's gaze darkened. And you said yes. I didn't have a choice, she said. I fed them information. Patient names, clinic records, safe house rumors. I didn't know it was your family until it was too late. He stared at her, stunned. You were the leak. Ava's throat tightened. That's why I left Tucson. They warned me the Vegas had found out. Someone inside the task force was feeding your father everything I said. So I ran. Gabriel stepped closer, the firelight flickering across his face. You're the reason my brother got taken. Her breath hitched. I didn't know he existed. It doesn't matter, he said, voice low. You started the war. She stood, trembling. And you're trying to end it by killing me? He didn't move, didn't blink. Just stared at her with that quiet, dangerous calm. You think I haven't wanted to? He said softly. You think I don't hear her voice every night, my mother, my brother, everyone he took from me? You're right, Ava, I should have killed you on that road. Her voice broke. Then why didn't you? For the first time, his control faltered. Because, he said, stepping closer, you looked at me like I was still worth saving. The air between them burned hotter than the fire. Ava's chest rose and fell, her pulse wild. And am I? She whispered. He hesitated, something unreadable in his eyes. You were. Until tonight. Before she could speak, the sound of an engine echoed through the trees. Headlights cut across the cabin wall. Gabriel turned sharply toward the window. They found us. Ava's voice trembled. Who? He looked back at her, jaw clenched. My father's men. She reached for the pistol on the table. Then let's go. But Gabriel didn't move. His eyes were locked on the approaching lights, and for a moment, she saw something like resignation there. You don't understand, he said softly. This isn't an extraction. What do you mean? He turned to her, expression grim. They're not here for me, Ava. Her heart stopped. Then who? They're here for you. A voice crackled through a megaphone outside, sharp and commanding. Ava Monroe. This is Special Agent Rourke of the D. Step out of the cabin. Hands where we can see them. Ava's blood went cold. The D. Gabriel's face darkened. No, that's not the D. The voice came again, colder this time. Bring her out, Gabriel. Your father sends his regards. The color drained from Ava's face. She turned to him slowly, the truth dawning. He's using your badge, your agency, everything. Gabriel reached for her hand, pulling her toward the back door. We have to move. No. But before they could take a step, a bullet shattered the window, the fire roaring in the gust dot outside. The forest filled with headlights, and in that burning glow, Ava finally understood. There was no saving anyone without paying the price. The first gunshot shattered the window. The second tore through the lamp. Then the forest outside erupted, rifle fire cracking through the rain-soaked night. echoing off the pines like thunder. Ava dropped to the floor, her breath sharp and shallow. The cabin filled with smoke and dust. Gabriel grabbed her by the arm, pulling her toward the back door. "Move!" he shouted. They crashed through the narrow kitchen, glass crunching beneath their boots. The air smelled of gunpowder and pine sap. Gabriel shoved open the rear exit and motioned for her to run. Ava hesitated. "There's too many." He turned to her, voice cold, decisive. "You want to live, you don't think. You move." She ran. The forest swallowed them, the night pressing in on all sides. Bullets tore through branches behind them. Gabriel fired back over his shoulder, each shot clean and precise. He moved like a man born to violence, silent, efficient. Deadly. They stumbled down a slope slick with mud and rain. Finally collapsing behind a fallen tree. Ava pressed her hands over her ears, heart pounding so loud she could barely hear. "How do they keep finding us?" Gabriel reloaded, his jaw tight. "They're not tracking me anymore." "Then who?" "You." Her stomach turned. "You think I—" "No," he said quickly, eyes scanning the tree line. "Not you. Something on you. Phone ID, something they planted." He reached for her jacket pocket. She flinched, but he ignored her protest, ripping open the lining. Inside, a small blinking red light pulsed faintly. Ava froze. "What the hell is that?" "Tracker," he muttered. "Rourke must have slipped it in when you were at the hospital." She shook her head, panic rising. "So all this time, everywhere we've gone, they've been following you." He finished. He tossed the tracker into the mud and fired a single shot at it. The light vanished. For a moment, only the rain remained. Ava's voice trembled. "Gabriel, what do they want from me?" He looked at her, eyes dark with something she couldn't read. "Not you. What's inside you?" She blinked, confused. "Inside me?" He hesitated, as if choosing his words carefully. "You worked in a trauma ward near Tucson, right?" "The Vega Clinic?" Her breath caught. "How do you know that?" "Because that clinic was one of my father's fronts. He moved shipments through the morgue, using body transport to smuggle product and weapons. 3 months before you left, there was a raid. Half the files went missing." Ava stared at him. "I had nothing to do with that." "I know," he said quietly. "But someone used your ID to access the internal records before it happened. Patient logs, ledgers, everything that could expose him. Those files were never recovered." Her pulse thudded in her ears. "You're saying he thinks I took them?" He nodded. "I didn't," she said, her voice cracking. "Gabriel, I swear," he touched her arm gently. "I believe you." Their eyes met, the space between them charged with something that had nothing to do with fear. The rain had slowed now, the forest humming softly as if even nature was holding its breath. "Then who took them?" she whispered. Gabriel looked away, his jaw tightening. "Someone close to him." She studied him, realization dawning. "You!" He didn't deny it. Ava backed away. "You stole them." "I hid them," he said. "In a place my father would never look." "Where?" He hesitated. Then, almost reluctantly, he said, "In you." Her blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" "The night I saved you," he said slowly. "You were supposed to die in that crossfire. You weren't just in the wrong place. You were part of the extraction team." She shook her head, trembling. "That's not possible." "You lost consciousness before I pulled you out of the wreck," he continued. "I didn't tell you because I needed you calm. But before I found you, one of my men implanted a microchip encrypted data from the stolen files. He thought you were one of us." Ava stared at him, unable to breathe. "You put that inside me?" "Not me," he said. "But it's there. That's why my father wants you alive." She stumbled backward, her mind spinning. "You use me as a vault." "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," he said, his voice low, desperate. "We were trying to protect the evidence. You were collateral in a war you didn't start. You think that makes it better?" She shouted. "You let me risk everything while you lied to my face." "Because if I told you the truth," he said sharply, "you'd have run straight into his hands." She turned away, rain sliding down her cheeks like tears. "I already did." A crack of thunder split the silence, and then a voice echoed from the darkness, amplified through a speaker. Gabriel Vega, step away from her. Ava froze. The voice was calm, familiar. This is Agent Rourke. I know what's on that chip. Hand her over and you both walk away. Gabriel's hand tensed on his gun. He's lying. You don't believe me? Rourke's tone almost smiled. Ask yourself who paid for that surgery, Vega. Who told your team where to find her? Ava's heart pounded. She looked at Gabriel. What is he talking about? Gabriel's face went pale. You didn't think the cartel would trust you with something that valuable, did you? Rourke continued. I've been running your father's cleanup for years. He wanted his files back, and I wanted my cut. All this time you've been working for me. Gabriel clenched his teeth. That's not true. But Ava saw it then in the flicker of his eyes, the tremor in his hand. You knew, she whispered. You knew you weren't saving me. He reached for her. Ava, she stepped back. You were delivering me. The look on his face, guilt, regret, something deeper broke whatever was left between them. I didn't want to, he said. I swear to God I didn't want to. Then why didn't you stop? Because he has my brother. The words tore out of him like a confession. Evan's alive, Ava. He's been alive this whole time. Rourke's been using him as leverage. He's telling the truth, Rourke called out. The boy's with me. You want him back? Bring me the girl. Gabriel's voice dropped to a whisper. I can't lose him again. Ava's chest tightened. So you'll lose me instead? The forest was silent except for the rain. He looked at her, really looked at her, as if seeing her for the first time and realizing what he was about to destroy. Then he holstered his gun. Stay here, he said quietly. No, she breathed. Don't do this. But he was already walking toward the light. He stepped into the open clearing, rain glinting off his face. You have my brother? He shouted. Rourke emerged from the trees, a pistol in one hand and a phone in the other. He tossed the phone toward Gabriel. On the screen, a video played. A man chained in a dim cell, Evan Vega. Gabriel's throat tightened. Let him go. Bring her first, Rourke said, voice calm as a blade. Ava stepped out before she could stop herself. You're not trading me. Rourke smiled. You don't get a choice, sweetheart. He raised his gun, and before the shot could fire, Gabriel moved faster than breath. One shot, then another. Rourke's men opened fire. The clearing exploded with gunfire and light. Ava dropped behind a tree, hands over her head, screaming his name. When the echo faded, the forest was still. Smoke, rain, silence. Ava crawled from behind the tree and froze. Gabriel lay in the mud. Blood pouring from his chest, Rourke's body motionless a few feet away. She dropped to her knees, her hands pressing against the wound. No, 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 stay with me, he coughed, blood on his lips, eyes unfocused. You have to run. I'm not leaving you. He smiled weakly. You already did. Tears blurred her vision. Gabriel, please, he reached up, his fingers brushing her cheek. Tell Evan. I kept my promise. Gabriel, but his eyes had already gone still. Thunder rolled again, low and distant. Like the world exhaling, Ava sat there, holding him, until the rain washed the blood from her hands. Somewhere beyond the forest, sirens began to wail, and as they grew louder, she realized she didn't know if they were coming to save her or finish what he'd started. The sirens faded long before they reached her. Ava didn't move for a long time. She sat there in the clearing, her knees sunk in mud, the cold weight of Gabriel's body heavy in her arms. The rain had stopped, but the forest still wept, every branch dripping, every sound hollow. When she finally let go, her fingers were numb. She pressed her palm against his chest one last time, not for pulse, but memory. He was gone, but his phone, blood-smeared, cracked, still buzzed faintly in the mud beside him. She picked it up. One message blinked across the shattered screen. Unknown. Unit lost. Objective incomplete. Secure the girl. Her stomach turned. They were still coming. Ava forced herself to move. She took Gabriel's gun, his keys, and the chain around his neck, the serpent medallion now cold against her skin. Then she walked north through the trees until the smell of smoke gave way to pine and frost. She didn't remember how she reached the road or how long she drove. Time blurred, Hours, maybe days, until the mountains gave way to a small Colorado town nestled against the river. Snow dusted the rooftops. No one here knew her name. That was the point. She checked into a roadside motel under Elena Torres. The clerk didn't even look up inside the room. She sat on the edge of the bed and unwrapped the chain. The medallion clicked open at the hinge, and inside, folded tight, was a micro SIM card. Not a chip under her skin. A key. Ava's breath caught. She slid it into Gabriel's broken phone. The screen flared to life, and then a file opened automatically. Video. File. Evan_Vega_02.mp4. Her heart pounded. She pressed play. The image flickered. A dim concrete room, a single bulb swinging overhead. A man sat at a table, bruised, thin, but alive. "Gabriel," the man said, his voice low, trembling. "If you're seeing this, it means you didn't make the trade. You did the right thing." Ava's throat tightened. Evan Vega looked almost exactly like his brother. Same eyes. Same fire, but where Gabriel had worn guilt like armor, Evan's voice carried sorrow. "I've been working with someone on the inside," he continued. "Someone who wants your father gone as much as we do. Her name's Rourke, but not the one you know. His sister. Agent Mara Rourke. She's deep undercover. If you're dead, she come for the files. And if she finds the girl, Ava Monroe, she protect her." Ava froze. "She's the only one left we can trust," Evan said. "Tell her the keys in the medallion. Tell her the truth." The video ended. Ava stared at the dark screen, her hands shaking. Gabriel hadn't lied about everything. He'd been working toward this, hiding the real evidence where no one could find it. Not even his father, and now that burden was hers. The next morning, she found the local library, one of those small-town buildings that smelled like dust and old pages. The computers were outdated, the walls lined with faded maps. Perfect. She slipped the SIM card into a reader. Hundreds of files appeared. Shipping ledgers, offshore accounts, surveillance footage, deep payoffs, the entire Vega network laid bare. She hesitated. One wrong move and she'd vanish like all the others who'd tried to bring the Vegas down. But if she stayed silent, Gabriel's death and everything she'd endured meant nothing. Her hands moved on their own. She uploaded everything to the federal database. No aliases, no delay. Just truth. When it was done, she leaned back, heart hammering. A small email notification appeared at the corner of the screen. From m.rourke@d.gov. Subject. "We've been waiting for you." Ava's breath caught. She clicked it open. "My name is Mara Rourke. I worked with your friend Gabriel. Meet me tomorrow. 7 a.m. train depot in Durango. Bring nothing but the medallion. If you want out, this is your only chance." That night, she dreamed of him. Gabriel. Standing at the edge of the forest, rain streaming down his face. His voice a whisper in the dark. "You looked at me like I was still worth saving." When she woke, the world was quiet. Snow was falling again. Soft, steady, forgiving. She packed what little she had and drove through the dawn. The Durango station sat at the edge of town, half buried in fog. A single train idled on the tracks. She stepped onto the platform, the medallion cold in her fist. A woman in a dark coat approached. Mid-30s, sharp eyes, hair pulled back tight. She extended her hand. "Mara Rourke," she said. Ava didn't shake it. "You worked with Gabriel." Mara's expression softened. "He trusted you more than anyone." Ava swallowed hard. "He died because of me." "No," Mara said quietly. "He died trying to make sure you lived." For the first time in months, Ava let herself believe it. She handed over the medallion. "Everything's inside. Every account, every shipment. It's enough to bring down the Vega Empire." Mara nodded, slipping it into her coat pocket. "Then you're free." Ava gave a broken laugh. "You think freedom's that easy?" Mara's gaze was steady. "For people like us, it's the only kind that lasts." The train whistle blew. Ava turned toward the sound, watching as the cars stretched into the distance, silver against the snow. She could board it, disappear again. Start over somewhere far enough away that the Vega name meant nothing, or she could stay and finish what he started. She looked back at Mara. "When this is over, when your people burn, what's left of them? Promise me something." "What?" "Don't let Gabriel be a villain in the story." Mara nodded once. He won't be. Ava stepped onto the train. The doors slid shut, sealing the past behind her. As it pulled away, she looked out the window, at the mountains, the snow. The faint glint of morning light breaking through the clouds. For the first time, she didn't feel hunted, just alive. And somewhere deep in her chest, beneath the scars and the fear, a truth settled quietly. He hadn't saved her for a price. He'd saved her for a promise. And in that, maybe, redemption wasn't about who survived the fire, but who carried the light out of it.